Hello, 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 and welcome into the Mile High on Broad podcast. We're going to be talking some Super Bowl weekend, talking about this game, what Mike and I think about it, who are some players to watch, what are some key points to keep in mind when it comes to this game. Before we get into it, Mike, how are you doing today?
I am really nervous. I'm really excited. My emotions are just all over the place, but we're here, baby, and I'm ready to go.
Super Bowl weekend. Mike obviously a big Eagles fan, so he's definitely a lot more excited for this game than some of us. Being a Broncos fan, I am a impromptu Eagles fan this week because we can't let the Chiefs win anything. So, um,
Well, plus your fiance is also an Eagles fan, right? So,
yeah, I mean, look, that's part of it, but I mean, last week I was all about the Niners. But look, I can't in any good conscience root for any rival, no matter what. So, I guess we'll be pulling for the Eagles. Mike, before we jump into this, I got to get something off my chest. Um,
go for it. Something tells me
no,
this is gonna have to do with the Pro Bowl. Am I right?
yeah, look, I said we weren't going to talk about it. It was a
Uh-oh.
joke. It
Yep.
was a joke. Somehow still got 6.2 million views,
I don't know how
which,
that happened.
believe it or
I was
not,
the single
is
person that
more
watched
people watched that joke than watched the final game of the NHL playoffs.
it.
But
Stanley
look,
Cup.
look, I said we weren't going to talk about it. I said it was a joke. I was out. I just can't help it. Look, I got to talk about the fact that Tyler Huntley was in the Pro Bowl. Tyler
Yeah.
Huntley was the number one alternate for the AFC. And there are going to be people out there who are like, who is Tyler Huntley? And that's my point. All right. Tyler Huntley is the backup quarterback for the Ravens. He played 6 games. Six. All
Now,
right.
now
And
did he play those 6 games very well, Ben?
and we're, all right. First alternate. All right. 3-3. So it's not even like he went 6-0 like Brock Purdy did. All right. 3-3. All right. He had 658 total passing yards, which for those of you out there not good with math, that's an average of 109 passing yards a game. 109. Justin Fields throws for more yardage than that. Okay. And I hate Justin Fields because he's a runner. 109. All right. Two touchdowns, 3 picks, and a fumble in 6 games. Not that wasn't one game. In 6 games, 2 touchdowns, 4 turnovers. How in the hell is this dude in the Pro Bowl? How is he the first alternate in the Pro Bowl? He got to play because of an injury. It wasn't even like somebody pulled out. Like Trevor Lawrence went, but he only went because Josh Allen was like, "This is a joke. I'm going to go play golf instead." All right, so that's how Trevor Lawrence got to play. But no, Huntley was in before that because of an injury. He was the first alternate. I looked this up. Every single team in the AFC at some point in the year had a quarterback play better than Tyler Huntley. How is this dude in the Pro Bowl? I don't understand it. It annoys me. It aggravates me. It proves how much of a joke the Pro Bowler is. And the worst part is all I saw after that weekend, because I didn't watch the Pro Bowl,
No.
but I would see highlights. Tyler Huntley's out here dominating the accuracy competition. He shouldn't even freaking be there. Okay? Shouldn't even be there. I don't care how good he's doing. He was horrible, horrible all year. Somehow this dude has Pro Bowler next to his name now. What has our world come to?
Hey, look, now this may be good-ish news for you, bad-ish news for Lamar. Because guess what? The Ravens can say, hey, look, we had a backup quarterback make the Pro Bowl now. We don't need to pay you as much.
Jesus, man. Then pay Huntley because I would love to see you guys play like absolute trash.
Yeah, Ravens, please don't do that. Please don't use that as a leverage point.
It's not even like he was half good, and they're like, well, I mean, like they kind of had a shot. He was horrible,
Yeah.
horrible, horrible,
Yeah.
horrible,
Yeah.
horrible.
Honestly, I think he played a little bit last year too. I think he was. I haven't looked at his numbers from last year. I feel like he was competent last year, but this year, like
If you're competent, you shouldn't go to the freaking Pro Bowl.
No. But I'm saying that like he's even regressed from where he was last year. Like last year, he went from like a competent backup to just, I mean, pedestrian numbers. It was I have no answer for you. I don't know. I got nothing.
All right,
Side rant
NFL,
over. You feel
get your
better?
shit together. No, I don't feel better. I won't feel better for a long time. I just can't. It annoys me. But we're going to try and move past it. We're going to get to what's really going to matter. Look, I'll probably get over after the Super Bowl because it's going to be a good game. And,
There will be.
it'll probably get my mind off the fact that somehow Tyler Huntley is a Pro Bowler. All right. Super Bowl weekend. Great game. Somebody's going to be hosting the Lombardi Trophy. We got the Kansas City Chiefs once again in the Super Bowl. And we have the Eagles making another return to the Super Bowl in not so many years. And I think it's going to be a good game. But there's a couple of points I think are really key for us to look at in this game. The first one that I think is, in my opinion, maybe what will ultimately decide this game one way or another is on one side of the ball, we got Patrick Mahomes, all right, and his ankle, high ankle sprain, back in the divisional round, and he was off the injury report, for the conference championships. Clearly was not
Anyone that
healthy.
watched that game, and especially if you watched that last play, he was hobbling around the whole time.
He was not healthy. He wasn't who he normally is. He wasn't healthy. All right. And then on the other side, we got Jalen Hurts and this shoulder injury. All right. Now, again, he's not on the injury report, but is he 100%? And look, both these guys could be 100%. This could be a mute conversation. But look, we know that Mahomes' magic is because he can move around. When stuff breaks down, he can make some crazy something happen. He can flip the ball behind his back as he's scrambling away from people. But you can't do that without an ankle. All right. And with this pass rush that the Eagles are going to put on him, if he can't do that stuff, that puts a huge damper on overall what the Chiefs offense is going to be able to do.
Yeah.
And then I look at Hurts and I'm saying, all right, well, if Mahomes is healthy, this could end up being a shootout. Is that shoulder healthy enough to the point where if Hurts has to come out here and he has to be able to make every throw, is his shoulder in a position where he can make every throw? Because if he doesn't have the juice in that shoulder yet to be able to make those throws that he's going to have to make if this turns into a shootout, could that hurt the game on the other side? Mike, what do you think?
So yeah, I think you bring up a couple good points there. So first off, I think Jalen's shoulder should be relatively good. I mean, that shoulder injury was closing in on 2 months ago now. And 2 weeks ago against the Giants, he looked really good. Now I know it's the Giants, and I know they don't exactly have the best team in the league. But the point being is that he looked good. He was able to hit the open receivers. I know last week against I guess 2 weeks ago now, against the 49ers, there was an open AJ Brown like 30 yards down the field, and he missed him. And so I think that's where a lot of these conversations are really stemming from, is the fact that, AJ was open, he missed him. That was a throw that through the first 15 weeks of the year, Jalen was making routinely, and it didn't look as routine. I think some of that, I don't know, my speculation is that some of that wasn't necessarily the shoulder. I think it might more so have been his nerves a little bit. I know he played at Alabama and Oklahoma, and he was playing in the college playoffs and national championship and stuff like that, but he did struggle in one of those national championships. And maybe it's just a little bit of a pressure thing. I'm more concerned, if I was a Chiefs fan, I'd be more concerned about Mahomes' ankle. He didn't look right the other week. He played well. He played really, really well, but he didn't look right. I think that the Philly pass rush is just in a completely separate league from where the Bengals pass rush is. Bengals pass rush is nice, but Philly's pass rush is like top 3 all time, arguably, right now. And so, yeah, if I'm a Chiefs fan, I'm a little bit more concerned about Mahomes' ankle than I am currently as an Eagles fan about Hurts' shoulder.
There's definitely more time in between the Hurts injury and the Mahomes injury that you can say, hey, like, Jalen should definitely be more healthy at this point. And look, it could just be some rust too. I mean, he did sit, 4 or 5 weeks, and then they had the first round bye. So maybe that's just some little rust he's got to shake off too. I think that the injury to Mahomes' ankle definitely, is the most concerning of the two. Again, he was able to play. He could play from the pocket fine, but it just takes that little bit of magic and spark out of his game if he doesn't have that ability to get out and make stuff happen. I don't think it's a game-ending thing if his ankle isn't 100% or not, but it definitely will take that piece out that could put a team over the top one way or another. And to me, that kind of takes us into the next point I want to talk about is when you look at these two teams, the Kansas City Chiefs, look, number one offense in the league. They were number one in points. They were number one in yards, but they were number one in the pass yards, right? And they were like 20th in the rush. Like they're not a running team. They're a passing team, right? And even without Tyreek Hill, this team has passed all year round. Mahomes has shown the ability to be able to just spread it around the way that he needs to. When you look at the Eagles, this is a running team. All right. They got four guys they give the ball to between Jalen Hurts and Boston Scott and Miles Sanders and Kenny Gainwell. Like all these guys can get equal touches and they're going to run the ball. I'm not saying that he doesn't pass, but you can see like both these teams, there's something that they really rely on. That's their identity. And which one of these teams' identities is going to be the run game or is going to be the pass game that really, proves itself to be the better of the two in the game. Now, me personally, there's a way that I would like to play the game of football. Comes from the way I grew up watching the game. And there's how the game's played today. So, I'm a run guy. Like, I would love to see them just pound the rock and take advantage of it after you do that. And that's what the Eagles do so well. So I love that game way more than I love the drop back 50, 60 times and just let it fly. But that's worked in the NFL today. What do you think, Mike?
Yeah, I think you're definitely right on that. I also grew up largely watching that growing up. It was a run-based team, run-based league. We had the LaDainian Tomlinsons, the Sean Alexanders, the Jamal Williams. Jamal Williams. What's the guy's name from? He ran for 2,000 yards in Baltimore. Jamal. Oh, I can't think of his name. Do you know his name?
It's escaped me.
Yeah, I forget his name. Anyways, doesn't matter. He was a stud. Point being is that yeah, I'm with you. I grew up watching a lot of the run game, and so yeah, I would rather see Philly try to run the ball. And honestly, I think it's almost on paper. I think this is a bad matchup for the Chiefs. Honestly, with a hobbled Mahomes, with a above average O line going against the best pass rush in the league and the number one rated pass defense in the league, I think it's just a bad matchup. And then on the other side, the Chiefs are like 20th in yards per rush allowed. They average around 4.5 yards per carry on the ground. So I don't know. On paper, this looks like a mismatch. Look, I'm not predicting a blowout, and even if I wasn't telling you what it is right now. But on paper, this is a mismatch. But Mahomes, he's magical, and he has the opportunity to be the difference maker and making this one either level or putting the Chiefs over top.
I think too, something to watch is where the Chiefs pass a lot, and obviously they're not necessarily known for being a downhill running team. The thing that they do really well, which is a pass, but it's really they do a lot of bubble screens. They do some end arounds. I know those are runs, but they'll do a lot of short dump offs to some of these guys. Jared McKinnon, running back, but he gets a lot of dump off passes, especially when things break down. And those could be the things that you could see a lot more of, especially if his ankle isn't 100%, where you're getting some of these bubble screens to, guys like Kadarius Toney, who apparently is healthy, and they're building up a lot for him. Look, I don't think he's going to be a huge impact on the game, but, a couple of bubble screens here there get him in space, just get the ball in his hands. Like that's how some of these guys are designed. It's not really a run, but I think that could be how they try to attack some of that kind of stuff. And I think it also could be part of why their numbers are down because they don't run a lot, but it's not like they're just air raiding it down the field every time. There are a lot of these little checkdowns and Mahomes scramble, 3-yard dump off to McKinnon and let him just go do some work. So, it's not just Slay and Bradbury on the outside. They're going to have to contain people. It's the ability, inside the numbers and some of those short yards jump offs that Eagles are going to have to be able to kind of contain some of that in the past. But look, I think at the end of the day, if the Eagles can control the run game and they can control the clock and they can keep the ball in Mahomes' hand, I mean, that's how you're going to beat him. And the way that they run, especially with that read option with Jalen, it makes it really, really hard to defend against. And we're going to see how the Chiefs are going to be able to contend with that and shut that run down. It's been really hard for everybody to do all year. And I think if they could do that, it's definitely going to be, kind of the best way to go about shutting this team down. Is figuring out how you can, keep that run moving or stop the run on the other side. And less going to be just about who's going to be able to pass the ball the most.
Yeah, yeah. To someone also to keep note of is the last time Mahomes was in the Super Bowl when he played Tampa, he looked very vulnerable because his O line was compromised, and we've seen the best look like that. We've seen Brady lose 2 Super Bowls to Eli Manning because that pass rush up the middle is just stellar. So yeah, a good pass rush on both ends of this on these teams. You never know who's gonna. You really don't know who's gonna win this one.
So, who has more pressure to win this game? All right, because I have my belief on who I think is feeling the most pressure to win this game. Since you got a horse in the race, shall we say? I want to hear from you first. Who is more pressure to win this game? Is it the Chiefs or is it the Eagles? Who's feeling the pressure? Who's got to win this game?
I mean, I know I'm personally feeling the pressure, but that's a side note. I think it has to be Patrick Mahomes, honestly. I think the Kansas City Chiefs have to feel like they have more pressure on them between Patrick Mahomes, who's going to be trying to, maybe he's not, consciously doing it, but he's vying for a Mount Rushmore spot on the greatest quarterbacks of all time list. Andy Reid is trying to make his case for, I think he's already a top 10 coach of all time, but he's going to be trying to vie for that top 5-ish type of a spot. And just overall, I think everyone had the Chiefs either winning the Super Bowl or making it to the Super Bowl or something like that. Everybody all year has talked about how good the Chiefs are going to be, and everyone, especially coming into the beginning of the year, nobody had Philly coming into the Super Bowl this high, at least this fast. People were doubting Jalen. People were doubting the team. People were wondering, hey, is Jalen even going to be our franchise guy? I think, regardless of what happens in the Super Bowl, I think he can go out there and throw 3 interceptions. We get blown out, 35 to 7. I don't think it matters. I think Jalen's going to get his money. I think Howie Roseman has already been proven as one of the best GMs in the league. And again, irregardless of what happens, I don't think there's any pressure on Philly outside of whatever they're putting on themselves. I think a bunch of external pressure should be on the Chiefs because I think I don't know if they're the favorites right now, but to me, yeah, no, okay, so they're probably not. But to me, Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, they don't want to be 1-3 in Super Bowls together. Andy Reid would be 1-4 all overall. Mahomes hasn't looked great in any of his other Super Bowls, so I think there's more pressure on the Chiefs right now than there is on the Eagles.
Yeah, I mean, look, for me, it's look, the Eagles are favored. It's a point and a half. I mean, it's a coin flip. I mean, to
Basically,
me, a point of flap is whatever. It's
no,
not even worth taking points at that kind of level.
no.
But the Eagles are favored. But look, yeah, the Chiefs, to me, they got to feel the pressure. And the reason for me that they have to feel this pressure is, are they the dynasty that never was? It doesn't matter how good you are if you're not getting it done, right? The big game, the ring, the Lombardi, like that's what this is all about. That's what we play the game for, and that's what they're there to compete for, right? It's not MVPs, it's not best records, it's not conference and divisional championships. It's who's going to win Super Bowls, right? And 10, 15, 20 years down the road, that's what people think about, right? Brady and the Patriots, dynasties, right? They think of the greatest of all time. And when you look at this Chiefs team that has been, dominant, all right, for 5 straight years now. I mean, they win the West 7, 8, 9 years. I don't know. I try and forget about it, right? They've been,
What year did they retire?
Mahomes. Mahomes has been to the AFC Championship every game, every year that he's been a starter. He's been to Super Bowls. He's won them. He's got MVPs. And like this is the dynasty that could be. But you got to win another ring. All right. They have to get it done. And if they don't, people are going to start asking, like, hey, is this a team that just when they get there, they choke and they can't get it done? Are you the people that, are you going to go down as one of the greatest of all time? And not just Mahomes, but and not just Andy Reid, but, this team, are they a dynasty or is this just a good team that 5 years from now we're going to forget about because they couldn't finish when they had to get there and get it done. So to me, it's the Chiefs. They got to get it done. They got to win, to prove to everyone that, they are the team that they are supposed to be, and not just a team that's good and then falls apart and can't finish the season when they need to.
Yeah, and I think that's actually a really good point. That's not something I even thought about, but you're right that this is almost it would be referred to probably as like a stillborn dynasty. Honestly, that would probably be the second stillborn dynasty of Andy Reid's coaching career. Philly went to 5 NFC championship games. They won one, and they went to the Super Bowl one time and lost it. So, yeah, I think that's a really good point. So, yeah, I would have to agree with you on the Chiefs for sure.
They got dynasty potential with that team and Patrick Mahomes at the helm. As much as I hate saying it, they do. But you got to win. All right, you got to hoist it. You got to hang banners in the ceilings, and if you can't do it, then you never were, and you're going to get forgotten. So I think more pressure's on them than it is on the Eagles to kind of see who comes down and look. When we talk about pressure, you got Patrick Mahomes win the MVP again. It's both who we had picked to win the MVP. I think he definitely was the MVP this year.
Could have been unanimous.
Yeah, like they changed the rules there too, and I'm out on that too.
Well,
But
people got second place vote, first place votes, and Hurts and Allen is what I mean.
yeah, so the last 9 MVPs to play in the Super Bowl all lost. So if history is to repeat itself, Mahomes, he's going to lose again. So not only does he have this pressure of having to prove that team can be a dynasty and the pressure of that team has to win, but now he's got the pressure of, hey, you're an MVP and you're probably going to lose this game because that's what people are talking about. And some of these are teams, Kurt Warner started this back in 2001 with the Rams, right? The next year, Rich Gannon with Oakland lost. Sean Alexander, a running back MVP with Seattle, lost. Brady lost. Peyton lost with Indy. Peyton lost with Denver. Then Newton lost to Peyton. Matt Ryan lost to Brady, and then Brady in 2017, most recently, lost again to the Eagles. And Patrick Mahomes get it done. That's a long list of names. Look, I don't buy into the superstitions that MVPs just lose Super Bowls, but hey, 9 straight, something you got to take account for. It's not just about having the best player on your team. It's about having the best team and the best game plan to kind of get into everything. And to me, that's where my focus comes now, which is who has the best team, and that's I think who's going to win the game. To me, it's the Eagles. All in all, around, I think the Eagles have the best team. There's definitely players on both sides of the ball that I think we need to watch, but to me, the Eagles all around have the best team at every level.
Yeah, I mean, I'm largely with you on a lot of that. I think actually even the last person to win the Super Bowl as the MVP was Kurt Warner in '99. So yeah,
sure did.
It's a long name of people on that list. And I'm with you. I'm not someone that buys into that kind of a superstition where just because you won it, the MVP doesn't mean you can't win the Super Bowl, right? I think had Bill Belichick played Malcolm Butler in that Super Bowl with Philly for Tom Brady, he had a chance to break that one, but we will never know why he didn't play him. But there is other things out there that I think are a little bit more relevant as to why the Chiefs might not win the Super Bowl. Teams that end up leading the league in passing every year, they don't win the Super Bowl, and I think that's a valid thing, and that's more so because it tells me you're either you're constantly losing, and so therefore you have to throw the ball a lot, or in the Chiefs' case, which I think this is more so what it is you're more one dimensional. You have to rely a lot more on one guy. We talked about this a couple weeks ago with Josh Allen, where they asked Josh Allen to do everything. They asked Patrick Mahomes to do a whole heck of a lot too. And I know that we talked about some of the screen game is kind of what they use as their makeshift run game, but that's still the ball in Patrick Mahomes' hands. Things can happen. And so, I don't know. I think more so having led the league in passing and more so having a mediocre to not great defense is going to end up causing to be these guys' downfall. Philly is the way more well-rounded team, like you said. We can throw the ball if we need to. I think we were the first team in either NFL history or in like last 30 years to have 350 yards on the ground, and then the next week have 350 yards in the air, or vice versa, whatever that was. This team can do it any way that they need to. I know that they're somewhere middle of the pack, maybe 20th in the league in passing, but if they need to get it done through the air, they absolutely can. They prefer to get done in the run game. So way more balance there. And then top 5 defense, top 10 defense this year, whatever you want to, kind of wherever you want to put them, as opposed to Chiefs number 1 and then 20th in the league in defense. So I'm with you. I think that the Eagles just are way more versatile and way more of a complete team than the Chiefs are.
Definitely. At the end of the day, games like this, they're going to come down to the stars making plays, and even just some other players that, make that big play, right? Those big plays are going to be important. You think about the Tyree helmet catch, and then you look at your superstars, right? You need your superstars to perform at a superstar level if you want to win. You look at last year, they needed Aaron Donald to get it done, and Aaron got it done when it had to get done. You look back to 2015. Von Miller as a star, he got in and he did what he needed to do. As a superstar to make sure that he controlled that game, and ultimately was a reason that the Broncos won that Super Bowl. You have to rely on your superstars. Yeah, there's gonna be some people here and there that I think you need to keep around too, but there's definitely gonna be players that this is the guy to watch. If he plays at his absolute best, he's a game changer. And if he doesn't, it's going to really put his team in a hole that they might not be able to overcome. In the regular season, you might be able to, but at this point, you got the two best teams in the league, 14-3 and 14-3. And everybody's got to play and leave it all out there if they're going to get it done. So here's what I want us to do. We're going to go back and forth. I'm going to pick a player that I think is, a guy to watch. I want you to pick somebody you think is a guy to watch. We're just going to go back and forth. Let's not double up, right? And let's see. I'm going to let you go first. So I won't steal anybody from you. Who's your first player that you need to watch?
I think the first person needs to be watched is Jalen Hurts. We need to see if that shoulder's healthy. We need to just see if he's going to be able to run the ball. And yeah, just in general, he's the quarterback, top 2 MVP this year.
Cool. So I'm going to make it really easy. I think obviously Patrick Mahomes is my number one player to watch in this game. He's going to have to get it done. All right. And he's going to have some of that magic. I'm looking for those crazy plays. The Chiefs have led the league in big plays. And in the games where they have big plays, 5 or more of them, those are plays for over 20 yards, they win. And when they don't, they struggle. And it's going to come down to his ability to, move around that pocket and make stuff happen. He's going to show if he can do it or not. Who's your second player to watch?
We're going to go with A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown's our number 1 wide receiver. He was a big acquisition this offseason for us that has paid off in every way possible. I think that having Jalen and him be best friends has been a big reason as to why he's been so successful his first year in Philly. And I think he has potential to be a big mismatch against a couple of rookies in the secondary for the Chiefs, who gave up the second most touchdowns to receivers this year.
I don't want to hate that we're just going to go back and forth and have to pick all the Chiefs players, but
no, we won't.
That's how it's going, right? Because look, number 2 for me, it's Travis Kelce. All right, we know that Tyreek Hill is gone. Patrick Mahomes has done a good job spreading the ball around, but Travis Kelce, he's the guy in this offense. He has the connection with Patrick Mahomes. He's, playing at, an elite all-time level as a tight end over the last few seasons. And, even at 33 years old, he's showing no signs of slowing down this year, another 1,000-yard season.
The clockwork.
a ton of touchdowns. For a few weeks there, it looked like he might, challenge Gronk for the all-time touchdown. It didn't come close to it because it's just a ridiculous record. But, this is a guy that, you turn around and he can get 2-3 touchdowns. He's good deep. He's good across the middle. He's good short. He's good, all over the place. And, if the Chiefs are going to win this game, they need a big game out of Travis Kelce. That's not a question. And look, I don't know who's going to cover him, right? Do you pull in somebody like Slay from the outside and try and put him on him? Or do you ask, somebody else to cover Kelce? It's a matchup nightmare either way. Travis Kelce has to have a big game if the Chiefs win this.
Yeah, I think for the most part, it's probably going to be C.J. Gardner-Johnson, if I'm being honest. But so my next player would be Chris Jones. Told you we're not going to go back and forth between Eagles and Chiefs. So, look, Chris Jones, number 2 this year for me for Defensive Player of the Year. He has been outstanding. Last week, he showed exactly why. He had multiple sacks. He had multiple tackles for losses. The guy can just wreak havoc whenever he needs to. And even if his numbers aren't showing on the stat sheet, that's still going to show up in the fact that he's going to get double teamed on 90% of the plays. Therefore, that's going to leave some one-on-one matchups on the outside for everybody else. But for me, having an interior an interior edge rusher, an interior rusher being able to generate pressure on the quarterback is more dangerous than even the exterior ones, because when they're coming straight up the middle, that destroys your pocket. And so, yeah, I think Chris Jones is another big guy to watch.
Hey, look, we talked about stars getting it happen. The Chiefs needed somebody to make plays to get to the Super Bowl, and Chris Jones was the guy who went out and got sacks when it counted to make sure they got there. So yeah, definitely him. It's funny you bring up Chris Jones. So my number 3 guy to watch has to be Creed Humphreys. All right, young center for the Kansas City Chiefs. In my opinion, he's the number 2 center in the entire NFL, behind only Jason Kelce on the other side. But this is a young guy, and he is a stud. But he's going to have to prove it, because he's got a big task ahead of him. This is an elite Eagles defense that can bring pressure from all over the place. And not only is he going to have to know where it's coming from, but he's got to deal with people in the middle like Fletcher Cox and Brandon Graham. And he's going to have to find a way to be the one who puts a stop on some of these guys. So I think a lot of pressure is going to be on him. You mentioned it. Pressure up the middle, especially if Mahomes doesn't have that mobility that he needs. He's going to have to be able to hold that pocket up in the middle against some elite interior rushers.
Yeah, keeping on the theme of talking about some rushing, the passer type stuff. I think Hassan Reddick for me is probably my 4th guy to watch for. Like I said last week, I think he was probably the 3rd best defensive player this year. He was 2nd in the league in sacks, 1st in the league in forced fumbles, and from my understanding, the side of the rusher that the tackle he's going up against, I believe it's Andrew Wiley, he was somewhere kind of in the middle this year in sacks given up, and he gave up like 6 sacks this year or something like that. So I think that has a potential to be a nightmare. Last week, I keep saying last week, 2 weeks ago, Hassan Reddick came out just like guns ablazing. He came out like he shot out of a cannon. He was able to get to Brock Purdy early, hurt him, unfortunately, but more importantly, he was able to cause, well, maybe not more importantly, but he was able to cause that fumble, and just, he's a matchup nightmare. And I think he's probably going to be one of the big guys to watch for. I think if he has a big game, he's a sneaky, I don't know, whoever wants to make some prop bets, I think he has a sneaky good odds for winning a Super Bowl MVP. Just going to throw that out there for anyone that's listening.
Interesting. I mean, look, he could definitely get it done depending on how he wreaks havoc. We've definitely seen some of the star edge rushers, be able to, get some of those awards. Let's do 2 more piece. For me, I mean, I keep looking at these Chiefs, but you're an Eagles guy, so I think that's why I left some of them. But this might be a little odd for people, but to me, I talked about it. Like, the Chiefs need to have big plays if they're going to win this game. That's how this Chief offense has been built. That's why they've been as dynamic and as good as they've been for the past 5+ years, is this ability to create these big plays. They lost some of that when Tyreek Hill left. They've been able to manufacture some of it, but I think the guy that they're going to turn to kind of create some of these wow plays, and not all the time, but here and there in spots, you're going to see him try and create something. Kadarius Toney, apparently fully healthy. We've seen this kid when healthy. He is a nightmare matchup out there, whether it's a bubble screen or a quick slant. He gets the ball in his hands. Like, this guy can tear it up. Look, he's not Tyreek Hill, but he is ridiculously electric when he gets that ball in his hands. Look, Valdez-Scantling is a guy that I don't know why they paid like that. Juju's Juju. If they're going to find somebody at wide receiver that can make some crazy plays, I think Toney's the guy. He's healthy. Let's see if Kadarius Toney can get out there and make those big plays this week.
Yeah, and he might have to be, because Juju's coming off that injury last week, and Mecole Hardman is on IR, so he's not playing. So it's going to be MVS and Kadarius Toney. Yeah, for me, I'm going to go with another Chief. We talked about it before. The Eagles' rushing defense has been kind of suspect at times. And Isaiah Pacheco, man, he has stepped up this year. He's a New Jersey native, so I'm familiar with who he was before he was drafted in the 7th round by the Chiefs. So I know of who he is. And, man, he runs with attitude. He runs with, like, he means it. And it's crazy because he's a real little guy, too. He's not very tall. He's, probably 6 foot tall, like 200 pounds, but the kid runs with anger. And so that could present some issues in itself. If the Eagles pass rush tries to get a little overzealous, I think that's kind of why we get caught in our run defense a little bit, is because we're so busy trying to rush the passer that we actually run past the running backs. So I think Isaiah Pacheco has some opportunities that to wreak havoc on this game too.
Definitely think he could. Interesting story for him being a seventh round guy and having this shot in the Super Bowl. Let's look on the other side of the ball, running the ball. Who's it going to be? Is it going to be Gainwell or is it going to be Sanders? I think both of them, and I know I'm kind of a twofer in here, but I'm going to do it anyway. Look, one of these guys has to have a big game. I guess they could both have mediocre games, but to me, it's either Sanders has a huge game and proves that he can get it done and he gets a contract, or Gainwell's the guy who has a big game and proves that Sanders is expendable. To me, when I watch both these guys run, they're very similar. I don't see massive differences between either one of them as far as size or ability. Yet there's, hey, look, Gainwell's a little bit smaller. Maybe he can catch. Look, there's pluses, but in the grand scheme, I look at both these guys and go, look, you flip one with the other. I don't think the Eagles team takes a massive step backwards in either way as far as a talent standpoint from the running back position. Hey, one of these guys is going to show today why they're the lead back for the Eagles next year. And one of them is not going to be here next year. So, or in a backup role. So I'm intrigued to see which one of these Eagles players decides to prove that, it's their backfield.
Yeah, and then lastly, I think for me, I'm going to take the other Eagles wide receiver, DeVonta Smith. I think that if for whatever reason something's happening with AJ Brown, whether he gets hurt, whether he's not playing right, whatever, maybe it's just Devontae's game. I think DeVonta Smith has a chance to prove that he is clearly a really good number one wide receiver for 12 to 15 teams out there. I think that he's somewhere in that 20th best wide receiver ish type range. And so I think, again, talking about earlier how the Chiefs let up a ton of yards and a ton of touchdowns to wide receivers this year, I think DeVonta Smith is another guy to keep an eye on.
Perfect. All right, Mike, let's pick our teams. Let's make our predictions. Super Bowl champions, final scores. Let's see how it's going to go. Who do you got winning this game, and what do you have for the scores?
Yeah, so I think for me, on paper, this is supposed to be just a blowout in favor of the Eagles. But look, man, Patrick Mahomes is special. He's really, really good. There's not enough things I can say about him that haven't been already said. I think he's amazing. And I think that he's going to be the main reason why this game is as close as it is. But with that being said, I'm kind of going with a little bit of my heart here. I'm going to go with Eagles 31, Chiefs 24. I think that they're going to winning by the score of a touchdown in the end of it. So don't let that 7 points make it sound like I'm thinking it's a blowout. It's a one-score game. It could very well easily be a 4-point game or a 3-point game or something like that. But yeah, I got Eagles winning 31-24, getting it done with the run game.
Man, it's a very popular score that I've been hearing, 31-24. So here's where I have things. So I also have the Eagles win this game. Look, Mahomes is a freak. He's the best quarterback of this generation. And I don't think that's up for debate, but I think the Eagles as a whole, the team is just too complete. And the challenge for this defense of Kansas City, which has played well, but definitely isn't their strength, to be able to compete with the question mark that is what is coming out of that offense when you have these run pass options, which, hey, it's a run, hey, it's a keep, hey, it's a pass. Like, you just don't know. It's really hard to defend. I don't know if this team is up for it. I think the Eagles defense, even if they do get beat by this Kansas City offense, because nobody stops that Kansas City offense, they can hold them enough that it's going to come down to the other side of the ball. I'm not going with the 31-24 that everybody's picking. I'm not even going with what, Vegas has for the point spread, which is a 27-24 win. I'm going to make it a little interesting. I got 26-20 in favor of the Eagles. I think there's going to be some field goals on both sides, a couple of touchdowns, but yeah, 20-26 in favor of the Eagles, taking down their second championship.
Go Birds.
Well, guys, that's the show for the day. Hope you guys had a good time. Come and join us next week. It's about to get really exciting. We'll touch on the game, but we're going to start getting ready for free agency. Things are going to get